Well, the AFL started off with a bit of a whimper due to the bad weather conditions on the East Coast. So let's see what actually happened and what we're going to tip for this week. So out of the 4 games, we only actually had half of them play. So in the Gabba, Brisbane and Geelong was postponed, as well as Gold Coast versus Essendon. The fear was very strong and it was best to not play them, although it didn't actually really hit until kind of Sunday-ish, I think. So they probably could have played the Thursday game, the Brisbane versus Geelong. I wasn't there, so don't hold that opinion to much high standards. So let's look at the 2 games that did go ahead. And obviously the first one was Sydney Swans, my team, versus Hawthorn. And it was weird because both teams were pretty even. Swans found a little bit going into the second half and caught up. They were only like 3 points behind. But the rain started coming down and it seemed like Swans could not cope. And Hawthorn pushed away. So the favourites lost this one. 79% went for Swans and only 21% went for Hawthorn. I get absolutely nothing because Hawks won by 20. Really, really disappointing, actually, because there were some glimpses. Amati, honestly, we cannot rely on him. He is not a target man that we need. I don't even see much potential in him. He must go. So a little bit of a weird performance. Had some glimpses of quality and some thoroughly disappointing defending, for example, and poor catching and marking. So nothing for me there. The Gold Coast game was cancelled, so then we had GWS Giants versus the Magpies. And wow, what a result. It was fairly evenly split between what you guys thought. No one got close at all. So 42% went Collingwood and 58% went Giants. Yeah, it was just one-way traffic. It really was. Collingwood, what a bad start to the season. They lost by 52 points. Once again, I get nothing. No one gets a bonus points for a close score. But well done if you are the ones that picked GWS. Right, let's see how we're doing in the table. Well, I'm happy to say we have 136 people in the competition so far. You may have missed a week, but get involved. And obviously, it's pretty clear that the one person with the golden hat, Cat 1001, how many points? 5 points. That's a pretty good start. So what's that? That's bonus point, match point. That's pretty good. Giants 4 in second, Crisis in third, Dark Soul in fourth, Aussie Dylan in fifth. So there isn't a lot to show at the moment because a lot of people will be on similar points. Obviously, I am near the bottom. So it's so awesome to see so many names from last season as well. But let's just see where you guys are. Lots of people with 1 point there, getting one result. And I'm sure, look, there are plenty now. Look, there are plenty that got nothing, not just me. But 136 people in here. Awesome. That seems really mean, though, because Koshen gets the wooden spoon. Maybe the point, like, the shot difference was well off. I don't know. But right, let's get picking this week's. Okay, so Thursday the 13th of March at the MCG, we have got Richmond versus Carlton. So looking at the stats, I've done my research. It is here ready for me. Now, Carlton finished fairly strong in 2024 season, which doesn't necessarily mean much. Richmond, first of all, I cannot see Richmond winning this, okay? Just straight out the bat. Blues, they miss Curnow, but Tigers are basically fielding a lot of debutants. So it's going to be, they're missing Curnow, but they are playing against maybe a lot of newbies with lack of experience. Obviously, clearly Carlton are the massive favourites here. If you look at it, Carlton won the last 2. 61 point was one of those last 2. Richmond's forward line is unproven without Tom Lynch as well. So look, I don't think this needs much explaining, but I can only see a fairly strong Carlton win. Now, obviously, we all know that at the start of the season, anything can happen. It is a little bit crazy at times, but my first pick will be Carlton to win. It's decent size. Let's do Carlton to win by 30. I think that's actually quite fair and not that mean. Okay, next game we have got MCG, Friday the 14th. Hawthorn versus Essendon. Now, obviously, Hawthorn come off the back of beating Sydney. Essendon obviously haven't played yet because of their abandoned game. I do think Hawks were fairly impressive against Swans, to be fair. So, that was a fairly confident enough performance to get over the line and finish off the game against us. So Bombers are without their key mids, Parish, Wright, Hawthorn, Miss, Warpel. So Hawthorn are the slight favourites. I think Essendon, same as Saints, for example, the last few years, they seem to start off quite strong. So this is a difficult one. Bombers' defence are untested against Hawthorn side, who scored fairly heavily in possession. This could go the way. I'm going to do Hawks because of last week's result. By 12. Let's try that. That's a difficult one to call, though. That's definitely not easy. Saturday the 15th at the GMHBA, the Litter Tray in Geelong. Geelong versus Freo. Freo, they are the team. I know, yes, this is going to continue. If I tip Freo, they're going to lose. And if I don't tip them, they will probably win. So you can judge your picking by what I do. So Cats are in full strength. Freo are missing some key players such as Young, Darcy and Fife. That could have a real big effect. Geelong get the home advantage, which they usually make the most of. They do usually make the most of. And with that strong midfield, that should be enough to really edge out a Freo side that you don't know which team's going to turn up. That was the case last year. The funny thing is, in head-to-head ways, Freo have actually won the last 3 or 4. But they are very much undermanned this time. So I'm not confident. Geelong obviously got Bailey Smith as a new recruit, adding to that strong midfield, which I think, although he's a bit of a filthy guy, that's pretty decent acquisition for them, especially having that little bit of youth that he's got, still won some experience as well. So let's go Geelong. Let's do them by 22. There you go, 22 points for Geelong. Next game, SCG, Sydney versus Brisbane. We've got to try and really recover from last week. As I said, Amati is just not he's not the forward that we need. He's not good enough, in my opinion. He's not consistent enough. He's not strong and dominant enough. His kicking's got a lot to be desired, so it's difficult. I know I said I'm going to be picking Sydney every week, but I don't know if I can. We're missing Mills, Adams, McDonald, and like I'm just saying, the forward setup is pretty uncertain. You're relying on the midfield too much, and they can't do all of the work because that's not their job necessarily. Lions are mostly fit. They've got a dangerous midfield. I think both midfields are fairly dangerous as long as they're firing, basically. Brisbane won in the last 2. Swans' defence is a little bit unsettled. McCartan's playing as a forward, which is just crazy. That shows the struggle we're having up top at the moment. If McCartan's been so good, both the brothers been so good in defence, and he's playing as a forward. That's not great, and I don't want to do this. It's my team, but Brisbane by 15. Oh, that's painful. And I hope I'm wrong. But the signs are not positive for Sydney. They're not positive, and it sucks. It really sucks. Okay, next game, it is MCG, Collingwood versus Port. Collingwood obviously have come off a really poor result. Really bad performance in the last week's game. Well, they're obviously, so after that result, they're missing DeGoey, but Dan Houston comes back, so swings and roundabouts there. Porter without Butters, and some of the new recruits will be adjusting, so it's a difficult one. Do you know what I feel? I find that Pies, their pressure game, normally kind of comes back strong after a loss. So I am actually, Port, they're unknown at the moment. They haven't played yet, which is the same as a lot. So you can't go on form. But I think I am actually going to go with Pies again. Seems a bit crazy after their result last week. But I do think they bounce back. They're at the MCG as well. So that is possibly a good home advantage that they're going to get. Who knows? Port could come and absolutely wipe them out again, and they don't have it. But I'm going to go with a Collingwood kind of fight back after last week's loss. Not by loads. Let's do Collingwood by 16. Let's try that. Okay, next is at Marvel, Western Bulldogs versus North. North are going to be similar again this year. I'm sorry, they're going to be similar again this year. Bulldogs got a little bit of an injury list, granted. Okay, so they are Bontempelli, Treloar, and Jones are out. However, the plus side is they are still facing North. Now, whether you think North will be able to kind of do better this year, they've obviously added Parker from Swans, Darling, and they've got a debut draftee, Finn O'Sullivan. Now, you can't really Finn O'Sullivan. Okay, you don't know what you're going to get out of a debutant, but you should get something out of people like Parker. So, I think with the depth of the midfield from Bulldogs with Liberatore and McRae, that should, they got a more full squad than North. I like North because they're plucky. They're always seem to be the underdogs recently. But I can only go with the Bulldogs win, and I don't see North really breaking into even the top 15 this season again. Although they have picked up a few good players like Parker, for example, which I think is a shame we let go. That's just my opinion. But I am going to go the Dogs by... Let's do 20. And that's not that bad for the Roos, if need be. That's not that bad. Okay, Sunday's games then. At Adelaide Oval, beautiful place. Crows versus Saints. I did say, I know that the Saints do quite often start well, but this is an unknown one. It's at the Oval, so Adelaide have got that home advantage. Crows are nearly at full strength. Saints have King, Howard, and Filippo. They are out. You can't say this very often. In my opinion. But Adelaide's forwards, they should dominate the game. Should, on paper, dominate the game. You can't say that very often because last year their attack was crap. Crows won both matchups last year, if that's anything to go by. And I think Saints' forward line looks a little bit makeshift without King. So will they be able to score the goals? That's the main thing here. I'm actually going to go with a fairly positive win for Crows. I've got a feeling. Sorry, I shouldn't sing. 28. I'm going 28. Yeah, fairly confident win there for the Crows. MCG then. And it is D's versus Giants. Giants cracking win last week. It really was against Pies. Yeah, I say does that give them red hot form? I'm not sure. One game is probably not form, is it? So we can't say that. But Melbourne, they're missing Pickett due to suspension. GWS beat Demons at the MCG last year in an absolute thriller as well. Whether that takes anything into account, it seems like GWS's midfield is really clicking this season so far with Callaghan, Coniglio and Ward's really stepping up. They were so impressive. And I think it's difficult once again because they're always there or thereabouts recently, aren't they? They're always kind of in the mix. And, they are still fairly consistent. I know they didn't have the best year last year, but they are still fairly consistent. And I think D's really lost it. They just went slightly downhill in the end. I'm going to go with the Giants win because last week's result was really impressive. And I don't think it will be quite as good as it was last year because I do think D's are a better team than Pies. So let's go with the 12-point win for the GWS Giants. Okay, last game, it is at the Optus Stadium, West Coast versus Gold Coast. Okay, West Coast, crap. I'm sorry. I don't see much improvement from them. They are rebuilding with kind of new recruits, but they have key players missing at the same time. So it's kind of one step forward. Normally it's one step forward, two steps back, but I think this is one step forward, one step back. So they're in the same position as they were last year, and that was not good. Suns, they've got Suns midfield, Miller, Rowell, and Anderson should dominate this one. They should. And I think this is a key thing with a lot of these games. It quite often can rely on that midfield being strong and dominant to win the games. And I think the Suns will have that in this game. Suns debuting under new coach Damien Hardwick. So maybe they're eager to impress. Maybe that's that new coach feeling. Didn't happen with Swans last week, but maybe it will with the Suns, with players really trying to impress to cement their place in the team. So I think what we're going to do here is a Gold Coast win by 30. There we go. So for the roundup, we have Carlton by 30, Hawthorn by 12, Geelong by 22, Brisbane by 15, that's painful, Pies by 16, Bulldogs by 20, Crows by 28, Giants by 12, and Gold Coast by 30. There we have it. Guys, it's not too late to join in. There has only actually been 2 games, so you're not going to be far behind at all. So make sure you join in. I want at least 150. Keep going throughout the season. Make sure you like and subscribe, obviously. If you want to check out all of our vlogs from Australia and the AFL games I went to, including the 22 grand final, then go to Charlie and Rob. Links in the link tree in the description. And once again, I will see you next week. Catch you next time.